Bright Beauty. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. Now students, let's start with our next topic here, that is the need for government. But before starting this topic, let's have a brief recap of what we learnt in our last topic here, right? So in our last topic, students, we talked about the political institutions. We understood the term that is government. We understood the term that is state, that is political organization of people living in a defined territory. We also talked about why do we need government in short form, right? We understood the activities that government perform and why do we need these institutions? What are institutions? And when we are talking about these institutions, we understood about the three organs of the government here, right? We learned the name, that is executive, legislative and judiciary, right? Now when we are talking about these three terms, we are going to understand about them separately. But here, just for your knowledge, I would like to tell you what does these terms mean. Now when we are talking about legislative, what do we understand by the term legislative? So the term legislative here, it means that the part of government or the branch of government that makes the laws, okay? Here when we are talking about the laws being made, which branch is doing that? So it is the legislative branch that is making the laws. Now when we are talking about the executive branch, what does the executive branch does? So the executive branch here, it executes the laws. The laws that have been made by the legislative branch are being executed by the executive branch. Okay, they are actually formulating and executing these or implementing these laws. Now when we are talking about the judiciary, what is the role of the judiciary here? It is interpreting the laws. It sees that the laws that are being made by the legislative and being executed by the executive branch, now it is being implemented in an efficient way. It is interpreting and it is seeing the working of both the legislature and the executive branch here. So we have to understand the roles of these three branches and how they are connected with each other. Okay students? Yes, we will also learn that the judiciary, it enjoys the independence much more than that of the executive or the legislative when we are talking about, okay? Here when we are talking about the judiciary, it means that we are referring to the Supreme Courts, the judges in the Supreme Court and the High Courts when we are talking about at lower level, when we are talking about the district courts or the Lok Adalats. So here students, these are the organs, the political institutions, and Constitution has laid down certain rules regarding all these organs of the government. Now here in this topic, we are going to understand the need for the government. So here, like I told you, you can't imagine playing a game without any certain rules, right? So if you are playing any game, you need to know the basic rules on how to initiate with that game or on how to play that game, right students? Then only you are going to gain interest in that game. Likewise, whenever we are talking about the government, about any country, about any state, do you think that without the government, the state is going to function properly? Not. We have already discussed about it in our previous topic as well, right? So the basic point here to understand is that when we are talking about the need of government, why do we need a government? For a civilized living in society. Everyone has the right to live, but one should live in a very civilized manner. So for a civil society, we definitely need a government that looks over that society, that looks over the welfare of that society for the people who are living in that society. We can also say that government is an agency or administrative machinery through which the state realizes its objectives. Correct or not students? We already have talked about the government, the meaning of government, right? So the institution that is looking after the law and order in the society, that is looking after the fact that everyone is following or abiding by the rules that have been laid down. So they have to know that this is the institution, the government that is looking after the law and order, right? Now it is a body or successive bodies of persons governing a state. We can call that a government, right? So here, in a very simple manner, we can definitely define a government as an agency or administrative machinery through which the state realizes its objectives. Now, what are the objectives? To look at the welfare of the people, to provide the basic necessities to all the people, to maintain the law and order, to provide security to all the citizens. These are some of the basic objectives, right, students? The list is endless, but yet we need to know some of the basic objectives, right? So here the government has to ensure that the states, they realize their objectives as well. Now, modern government is run by a host of officials, politicians and functionaries. Now, what do we understand by this point here? In today's world, when we are talking about the different kinds of government, I have already mentioned it in our previous topic as well. Now, when we are talking about the nature of the government, we can say that all over the world, the nature of the government in different countries, it can vary. You know, we have a democratic form of government. In North Korea, if we say, we have a military dictatorship there. When we are talking about different kinds of government, in China, we have single party system, right? So in different countries, different kinds of government exist. Okay, it can be autocratic, it can be monarchical when we are talking about Britain, right students, the Great Britain. So here we understand that there are different types of government. The nature can vary: republican, monarchical, federal, unitary, parliamentary or presidential when we are talking about the United States of America. Okay, so here when we are talking about the modern day government, definitely it's quite complicated. But the modern day government, it is run by a host of officials, politicians and functionaries. When we are talking about our own country, we know that ministers are there. We have a prime minister, we have the president, we have the vice president, we have the bureaucrats, we have the politicians, right? The elected representatives. So all these people, they are involved in this government. They have the responsibility to take care of the people. They have the responsibility to maintain the law and order and to see that there is effective administration in the country that exists there. Correct or not? So here we understood why do we need a government. In our next topic, we are going to talk about the organs of the government. So thank you very much.